You're listening to the Our Erie podcast with Lydia, Laythe,
Davona, Pacley,
and Marty, Nwachukwu.
This series will bring citizens, entrepreneurs, activists, politicians, artists, and thought leaders to the table for a frank discussion around societal issues facing our post-industrial city and the United States at large. Take a seat.
This week we're going to be talking to Caesar Westbrook, who is a local artist here in Erie. But right now we're currently reacting to some local news. This is one of the first times we've actually reacted to something that's happening in the moment outside of the election. This week there was a city council meeting where, us being three women, we were upset seeing how one of our fellow councilwomen was treated. So actually listen for yourself and hear how that went.
Number one, in new business. Resolved by the City Council of the City of Erie that the proper city officials are authorized and directed to designate a portion of Hess Avenue between East 10th to East 12th as Bruce Bauman Way in honor of Bruce Bauman and his outstanding public service and longtime supporter, player, and champion of Erie softball. Bruce was inducted into the Metro Erie Sports Hall of Fame in 2007. Discussion?
Yeah, I separated that, and I'm sorry that certain people on the dais are unhappy with me sponsoring this for Bruce Bauman. If you looked at the agenda, it wasn't a surprise because it was put on the agenda. Was it Thursday or Friday, Lori? I don't know. If some people had a problem with it, I would think they would have brought it forward instead of hitting me in the back of the head with it.
Why don't you identify me as the person instead of saying
Everybody
some
knows
people?
You're the nut. Why don't you back up?
I'm the person.
You are ruining a wonderful tribute to a great guy because you can't.
And I told you that I said Bruce is a
Keep
great
it
guy.
shut. Anyway, I'll stop talking now because I don't want to take anything away. The softball players that came to us with this have said that they would pay for any signs. So financial situations are not a problem. Bruce, rest happily. Thank you. Boy, that broad can press buttons, can't she?
Voting on the resolution, Mrs. Allen, Ms. Allen, Mr.
Sorry,
Brennan.
I'm sorry. Did somebody just call me a broad?
No, you aren't even there.
What did you just say about somebody pressing
Nothing.
buttons?
Order, council.
None of
Hey,
your
I'm
business.
not
Move
going to
on
be in
with the-
order if somebody's calling a woman a broad.
None of your business, lady.
Oh my God.
Enough, guys.
Voting on the resolution, Ms. Allen, Mr. Brennan, Mr. Brzezinski, Mr.
So for
Keeley.
context there, City Council has been working on a process for which people can get streets named after people who have passed, and they hadn't yet resolved that issue, and it was suggested to name the street after a former softball coach. So and then you heard what happened. So ladies, what was your reaction, reading Liz Allen's post or seeing someone else react to that and, seeing what was going on this week?
So I think I need to take a deep breath before I explain how I feel. Before I even cry. Probably I'll cry because first I'm always crying. But anyway, I'm very perturbed. I feel very angry. I'm disappointed. I'm ashamed. Those are all the things that I feel. I'm hurt. I will say hurt too. Those are all the things that I feel when I think about what happened, when I hear what happened, when I see what Miss Liz Allen posted, what councilperson Liz Allen posted. This is not the first time, though, that she's gotten this abuse. And I'm going to say abuse because nobody ever defends her when this happens. There's nobody that ever says, this is not right. And I'm talking about when it comes to actually being in front of us, like us seeing this at city council meetings or us seeing this in person. You know, it's one thing to say, oh, well, we probably took care of it behind closed doors. We reprimanded. I don't care about that. What I care about is actually getting the point where somebody's defending her. They're saying, listen, this is not right. And honestly, taking him off city council, because this is not the first time that Councilperson Brzezinski has spoken to Councilperson Liz Allen. So I'm angry because I'm wondering why leadership is not being vigilant on something that is so toxic. And it shows you a lot of the problems that we have in our city when it comes to toxic behavior. And this is literally another example of that. And the misogyny and the way that women are treated in the workforce. And so many, like, this is literally, I'm actually kind of happy this happened. I'm really happy that this has been broadcasted in a way where, of course, they have to do the live sessions and put that out there. But I'm glad this happened because we needed to see the toxicity. We needed to see that this person, not just this person, the people that are on leadership who are laughing at the end of her saying, is somebody really calling me that? And nobody said, you know what, Liz, that is not right. That's not this. We're going to rectify this situation for you. Please order. Nothing. I'm so flabbergasted by that. I can't even. So,
the only time that that he called for order was when Liz started talking, not when
True.
Ed was saying,
yes,
you know, all the things about her being nuts or calling her a broad, you know, and saying that, you know, you're not even there, which, like, yeah, I don't want to say triggered, but like it definitely brought back very real, very recent memories for me on current Washington Township Council, but also just like throughout my life where people, particularly older white men, have spoken to people like this. And it's a different,
it takes you back in time.
It does.
Like,
it feels,
I was raised to think that women can be anything and do anything and be treated equally, but I was aware that in the past women were not treated that way. So listen to Brzezinski calling her broad and nuts and this and that. I'm like, oh, this is what it was like to be back then, but it's crazy. I thought this was 2020.
Right. And it's not even the disagreement between equals. And I think that's what you like. In this day and age, I don't expect everyone to agree all the time. I don't have a problem with people raising their voices at each other because they are both passionate about an issue that they disagree on. Like, I'm not offended by that. What I am offended by is like this idea that somehow she is not his equal. And the way he was talking to her, he clearly did not see her as an equal on council. The way he said, doesn't this broad know how to press buttons, or, you know, you're not even there. You're not even there. That one just keeps ringing in my ears, hearing him say, you're not even there.
What does that mean? He's saying she isn't a woman?
I don't know what that
it just means like you're not even, like, you don't even matter. You're not even there.
Yeah.
You're not even there.
And that's wild because, you know, that's something, that's our perspective. That's what we're hearing, but that's what it really feels that way. I mean, I don't know how Miss Liz Allen took that. All I know is I'm just sitting here like, what are y'all gonna do? And I'm gonna speak out. I'm gonna speak out to the leadership that was there. What are y'all gonna do to rectify the situation? Because at the end of the day, like, I'm looking at, you know, how our city is supposed to be just looked at as a welcoming place, how our city is supposed to be looked at as a diverse place, equitable, and how we're supposed to be a community that's thriving, a community of choice, a community of opportunity. And then you see city council and you see the complete opposite. And it's crazy. It's the irony.
They still have not said anything. This is
right.
Friday. That was Wednesday.
Right.
The mayor was on there. Winarski is the council president. Granted, you have been, Davona, in meetings where Winarski has talked just as Liz Allen. Even if you're not, you know, a presiding lead, there were a whole bunch of people there who did not step up and say, this is wrong. And, you know, I was upset hearing Brzezinski say what he was saying, but I was more upset with the people who said nothing and more upset with Witherspoon, who was sitting there cracking up. It was not a funny situation at all. But it's funny to them to see a woman belittled that way, because even in that small moment, it put her in her place, parentheses, And what does that communicate to us as young adult women, let alone children? Like when I watch them, like, okay, so I know who exactly I'm dealing with in this city. I know exactly how they feel about women, and they don't take us seriously. And they don't want to really hear from us because they're treating Liz Allen, who's well into her adulthood, that way. How are they going to treat us?
Right.
And
mind you, on city council, I believe that Liz Allen does a great job. She is one of the pillars that is really keeping city council, I believe, floating, as far as really being a person who is transparent for our community. I mean, honestly, when I look at the city council, I think there's a lack of transparency. But the one thing that I really applaud Liz Allen for is being a transparent person, for being transparent even about the experience that she had. She really honestly tried to spin it and make it, not spin it, I will say on her Instagram, on her Facebook, she wrote a long article about the man that is one that people want to honor and give a street to. She already wrote an article. She already stated that she's honored this person, just wanted a different process, wanted due process, which she's always asked for a due process in all situations when it comes to city council. And so I applaud Liz Allen, when you listen, or if you listen to us, that I applaud you for being a council person who honestly stands up for the community, who really researches what's going on. She does her homework.
Celebrate someone doing their homework.
Okay. The woman is on top of the game. So for real, I'm proud of her for being so honestly so strong. I know it's probably not easy to be sitting on city council with people that don't defend you, people that don't see you as a teammate, a team player in this situation. That's hard. I know what that feels like, to be a person who rocks the boat at a job and gets looked at as being a person who's abrupt or too, outspoken. I'm gonna do it. And I feel like Liz Allen did it, and she did it in her way. And I really just applaud her for at least trying to take a stand for how she feels, honestly.
Isn't it even rocking the boat though? Like anytime I have watched
that's true.
Allen on city council, she's usually just asking for like a process or for things to make sense.
That's true.
They get so upset with her for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I said rock the boat because then maybe that, and think about that. That's insecurity on my level, because when you think about as a woman who has as outspoken, as a woman who really has all these ideas, as a woman who's really like, we got fire behind us, we oftentimes get looked at as being too much, being abrupt, rocking the boat. And so maybe I'm using that verbiage because that has been used towards me.
Because that's how
in
people
our society. Yes, in our society. So, you're right. Let me reframe that, because that's so true. Just because somebody's asking for things to be done in the right way or for our process to happen, why does she have to be looked at as difficult? Which I really hate that. I really do.
I think it's so ironic too, just like listening to the words again and hearing Ed be so passive aggressive and so weak, like truly so weak.
It's very weak
to say, certain people are unhappy, some people had a problem, hit me in the back of the head. Like, so he is being passive aggressive while claiming that someone else was being passive aggressive. Like, oh, they should have just said something. They hit me in the back of the head with it. They blindsided me by this. But then when Liz tries to make it an adult conversation between equal adults, like, let's just talk about it as it is. Like, if you're talking about me, say it's me. I'm not ashamed of this. Like, let's talk about it. And then he gets all defensive and it calls her nuts, calls her a broad, says she's not even there. Like, I'm sorry. She was just creating an adult conversation.
Absolutely.
Like from 0 to 60.
Yeah. And it's crazy because you wonder, like, if you're disrespecting her like that on live, like,
oh my God.
Well, even if he's even aware that it's used, that they're doing this live. But if you're disrespecting her like that, what are you saying behind closed doors? What are you saying to her? How are meetings going if we're not there as constituents watching? Like, I'm interested in just how people talk to her and are interacting with her outside of this privately. That's the scary thing.
Well,
but my thing is,
she like challenges them, like she asks questions.
Yes.
That's the only reason. Like, you might take issue with the way she I don't know, carries. I don't know.
Wait, I don't know.
Well, because
either.
she's not syrupy, sweet little old lady.
Yeah.
Sweet, like, let me bake you cookies and ask
No.
really sweet questions and be really nice and petite and small and quiet.
No.
But God forbid she come in guns blazing, ready to fight and ready to just ask a question like a human being.
Yeah.
Like how women are told to, be softer, be quieter, be, more meek, be more,
Yeah.
polite or more respectful or whatever. I think too, like if she's rocking the boat, imagine what they think we're like. Are we sinking the boat? Like what are we doing? And then how would they talk to us or about us? And also like people are watching.
Yes.
Again, going back to like all these people that like, regardless of what they were saying, but what they weren't saying and what they weren't doing and all the smiles and smirks and giggles and just silence too. Like all the people that were straight faced and silent in this. And yeah. And Davona, your point about this being a welcoming, like literally the irony in the same week.
No, it was the day after.
Literally
Or
the
same
day.
Yeah. Like within that same
Oh my God.
time
24
period,
hours.
we were declared, the city of Erie was declared a welcoming city.
Mm.
And then this happens on council, and the people that worked so hard to get Erie to become a welcoming city are doing nothing.
No, that's
That
all
doesn't-
performative anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Like we are, as organizers, are on the ground and know
Yes.
like what is going on day to day and the normal.
But it was like so hopeful. To me, I felt hopeful. I saw that. I was
Yeah.
like, great. Now we're a welcoming city. Let's hold ourselves to that. Let's be
Absolutely.
accountable to that. Let's do that. You say you want to do that. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I
Because
love
real
it.
work is more though than checking the boxes.
It absolutely
sorry.
is. And if your actions can't match that, then yeah, what is the point? Is it performative? And like then you need to unpack that as a leader. If you're not willing to make yourself uncomfortable and say, you know what, that's not okay.
But it was coming from. That's why I take so much issue more than even Brzezinski saying what he was saying with everyone around that.
Same.
Like that, there was no leaders in that room. You can't say you're a leader and watch something like that happen and not say anything.
Mm.
It amazes me that between the mayor, between the president of the council, you don't have to even be recognized as the head of anything. All the other people around there who sat there, whether it was the clerk or her fellow,
Right. Or like the person that was going to make like continue with the conversation and was calling for the vote.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, that's really interesting that like amidst all that crap that was just spewed, you're going to be like, okay, so now let's have a vote.
No, in no other workplace too. I feel like I can say from my workplace, if someone acted that
No,
way,
it would be so unacceptable.
yeah.
So unacceptable.
It's wild because, when you look at her being disrespected, Liz Allen being disrespected, you almost wonder, well, dang, what do you think about the constituents of your city? Because
Well, we have
if you're
citizens.
if you're going to disrespect her, then that means you disrespecting us.
Right.
I feel disrespected because that's a person, like I said, on city council that is who is super involved with the community, who is an advocate for the community, and you disrespected her. So when you do that, that means you're disrespecting the community. You're disrespecting her as much. I don't know. It's just like, it's crazy. It's crazy. I'm really
there. When people were coming to city council in June and August, in July and August, in response to like the protests going on around the country and after our own protest, seeing an officer kick down a woman, saying we need to hold police officers accountable. Brzezinski was one of those people who was saying, how can people from the public show up and tell us what we have to do, and they're ridiculous and this and this. So it's not surprising to see him also talk to his fellow coworker that way. Witherspoon last year was up there on city council talking about he wanted to fight someone when they were disrespecting Councilwoman Sonia Arrington. So I just
but it's young people who are not qualified.
Respectful than this older generation that was supposed to be raised a certain way. I don't understand.
Right. And it's crazy because it's like, but there's young people who really were wanting, and I even included myself. We were fighting for the seat, not to just have a seat. Like we were fighting to want to make some change, to really want to bring some integrity, some governance. And I think when I look at city council and I see who's sitting up there, I'm like, okay, well, what are you doing though? Because that was your opportunity to show leadership, to show a different side of what we felt has been happening. That was like the opportunity to show something different, and nobody showed me different. And I'm
Some
really
of them are happy up there just naming streets after people and giving
Right.
awards to.
Well, it's the same
children.
people that
That's
are
all
in
they
higher
do.
elected offices that are happy with just like naming, memorial holidays for different things. That like that's the most that they can like. Yeah, there's people that get into this to do nothing,
wow.
to do the
That
easy
makes me
work and to
sad.
not do the heavy lifting. But I
But
think
at least pretend that you have some kind of sense. I cannot believe publicly on the internet in 2020, he's talked that way to Liz Allen.
Girl, I
This is a
can.
representative for the city. Like, think about how that communicated. I'm upset. You're both upset. Like,
I
think
was
about
upset.
to women.
right.
Like, I don't know. Sometimes at the intersection of being like Black and a woman, I feel like there's more oppression being Black. But that moment reminded me, like, women still have so much to
Oh
do.
yeah.
Mhm.
You better say it. Same for me. I was like, okay, I think about being a young Black woman, but I'm like, at the end of the day, this is literally about women, you know what I'm saying? In general, like it's something we're still really struggling with, which is really sad because women are paving the way for a lot of things. We're creating a lot of different avenues and bringing so many people to the table. I mean, I look at Stacey Abrams and her leadership in Georgia, and look at how dope it has been, and I just think when you see situations like this in Erie, who is a place that's literally, we're struggling to figure out what next step we're trying to take as a city, you know what I'm saying? And then you see these things and you see city council kind of just literally stuck in 1950s. And you're like, is this 2020? Like, I'm confused. Like how you said, I'm upset.
Leadership is not in 2020 by any.
No, absolutely not. Right.
I'm upset, but right. Yeah.
We don't talk that way.
No,
and
we
I
don't.
just like want to be clear. Like, we don't talk that way for so many different reasons.
Absolutely.
Like, we don't demean and degrade a woman for just being a woman and asking a question or for being direct.
Right.
Women are allowed to have a seat at the table and are allowed to ask questions and be direct, and they don't need to beat around the bush. On top of that, as a social worker who has worked in like the mental health field for a long time, like, I'm also not okay with someone being called nuts, especially a woman being called nuts, because women have been pathologized and have been called nuts when they've had very real, very valid feelings about their oppression and about their mistreatment, and they're called hysteric or they're called nuts. And that is a legacy of our country and of our communities that we need to clearly still confront, because it's still happening. But like, we don't do this. We as a community are better than Ed Brzezinski.
Yes. And we deserve better.
Yeah.
For real. We deserve better. So all I have to say is, March coming up, some seats coming up, and people are going to be wanting to fill those seats.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
We
are going to do the work to get, and we're going to do the work. And so that's just all I have to say at this moment, because
well, and I think in thinking about the conversation that we're about to have with someone as amazing as Caesar Westbrook, and the conversation that we had with him too, that I just think is like, the conversation we had that people are about to hear was so hopeful. There is so much great stuff happening in Erie. There are so many great people, so many amazing, hopeful, thoughtful, compassionate, qualified people. People like Caesar Westbrook should run for council. People like Davona Pacley should run for council. People like, the people we've talked to on this podcast, I would gladly see in positions of leadership throughout our communities, because those people know what it's like to be a person in this community. And clearly, given the behavior of so many different people on council or in leadership that were present, they don't know. They clearly do not know what this community is about. They don't know how to talk like this community or to talk about this community and just basic human respect and decency. So moving into this next conversation, I think it's important to pay attention to the people we talk to that bring us hope, that bring us joy, that bring us feeling of unity, of belonging, of respect, of, equity. If we're going to be a welcoming city, then like we need to be embracing people that make it feel welcoming. And there were so many people there that didn't make it feel welcoming. So, you know, whether it's listening to Caesar Westbrook talk about his art and all the things that he's doing for the community, or other people that we talk to on a daily basis, I think we can all be paying attention more, and then supporting those people and encouraging them to take more leadership, because it's people like that, the people that bring us hope and joy and equity and inclusion, that should be in these positions, not these people that are stuck in the 50s.
So if you are like us, upset by the way that Councilman Ed Brzezinski treated Liz Allen, you can do something about it. You can make your voice heard. Send a letter to the editor to the Erie Times newspaper. You're going to send it to letters@timesnews.com. You're going to leave your name and address and phone number, and then write your reaction and what you want the community to hear for 250 to 300 words. Do something, say something, let the community know that you do not stand for this kind of misogyny in Erie.
You've been listening to the Our Erie podcast, the voice of reason in the fog of post-industrial America. Next week, we're bringing you part 1 of our conversation with Karen Thomas, co-owner of Pineapple Eddie Southern Bistro. Continue the conversation at facebook.com/Our Erie series. This podcast is produced by John C. Lyons, Marty Nwachukwu, Davona Pacley, and Lydia Laythe. Funding provided by Erie Arts and Culture. Music by Corey Cook. We appreciate you for listening to the Our Erie podcast. Peace.